Hey, business storytellers. How's everyone doing? Hey, I want to talk really quickly about podcast teasers and give you an example of how that actually looks. Now, first of all, I want to mention Zach Mitchum. He was on episode 548 of the Business Storytelling Show, and he gave me this idea. And here's kind of how it looks. Basically, what you do is you have a quote from whoever is on your show early on in the show. So you start with that quote, and then you go into your opening, and then you go into the actual show. So it's you might call it a cold opening, I guess, or a preview, or a podcast teaser. And the trick, according to Zach, is to pick a quote from later in the show. So people subconsciously, I suppose, are waiting for that quote, if it's a good one, back in the show. So as they're listening, all very interesting. It closes the loop, so to speak. And that's kind of what it does. And then also what I find interesting is it actually pulls people in more when you have a good opening quote. So here's how that looks. I'm going to give you an example. This is from an episode that we recorded with about branded podcasts with Allison Osborne. She's with Quill Inc. and co-host. So check it out right here, and give it a try. See if it helps you increase listenership, viewership, and of course, you can use this on the podcast channels on YouTube, which is what the discussion with Zach focused on. But definitely worth considering, in my opinion.
Or journalistic podcast, there is so much editing that goes into those, and the sound designers and sound engineers behind it are incredibly talented. And with those types of shows, the listener is expecting to have a lot of editing because how it flows is a story. We need sounds and soundscapes to kind of help us understand what we're supposed to feel, move us through the narrative as well.
This is the Business Storytelling Show with Christoph Trapp. Name a top 20 storytelling podcast and a top 5% podcast globally. Christoph chats with thought leaders and experts to share tips and tricks that can help you tell your company's stories better to drive business results. Available wherever you listen to podcasts, live streamed on major social media channels, and part of the DB&A television network. Available on most U.S. television sets and streaming on Roku and Amazon Fire. Here's Christoph with today's episode. Let's go.
Let's go, business storytellers. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the Business Storytelling Show, where we're going to be talking about branded podcasts today. What the heck is that? What's a branded podcast? Who should do it? Why should we do it? Every time I hear branded content, though, my friends, I'm thinking ads. But I know I'm wrong. That's not what that necessarily means. Because really, this is kind of a branded podcast. I think we'll ask today's guest if she agrees or disagrees with me, because, some debate can be good. Allison Osborne helps companies do podcast production, podcast hosting. We need that too, not podcast hosting, like me being the host, but where you actually put your podcast and host the all the files and all that. So let's get Allison on the show here. Really looking forward to today's discussion about branded shows. Allison, welcome.
Thank you. We'll do the whole going out too.
Nobody hit the camera. That is half the battle. Really appreciate you coming on. And I always love running across experts like you. You guys published an entire report on branded podcast and all kinds of different things. And certainly that was an interesting read. And I'm pretty sure I put the notes, the link in the notes, in the comments or whatever on the live stream. So check that out. But tell me, what in the world is a branded podcast anyways?
Yeah, so I'm sure people would have different definitions. How we like to identify them in our company is a podcast series that's owned and brought to listeners by a company with the purpose to benefit that brand. And really any brand or company of any size in any industry can be producing a branded podcast.